The mass memorial of the 18 family members who were massacred in Ngobozana village in Lusikisiki over the past weekend will be honored with a memorial service on Sunday. The families will then hold their respective funerals thereafter. Police announced this during a briefing that one suspect is held for questioning. Let's speak now to the Eastern Cape government spokesperson, Khuselwa Rantjie, about the support that is being given to the families. Khuselwa, a very good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. Let's start with preparations for the Sunday's memorial service. How far are those?
Good afternoon to you and your listeners, Vuyo. We are covering ground in terms of the preparations. We started with the engagements with the families on Monday, and the engagements at the time were about government talking to them to consider perhaps a mass funeral service. And after deliberations with the families, it became apparent that due to various traditions being followed in various homes, it will not be possible to hold a mass funeral service. And therefore, government then thought it would be necessary that we still continue to honor those victims. And together with the families, we agreed that a mass funeral service will take place this coming Sunday in Lusikisiki at the Lusikisiki College. And logistics towards that are going very well. And we're expecting that government, the communities, as well as families and their representatives will be part of that mass memorial service that will be taking place.
Was the issue of how the respective families prefer to conduct their affairs in times like these the only reason that was given for not being so keen on a mass funeral?
Yes, you would understand that in the Xhosa tradition, you will find in other homes that when a person dies in an incident of this nature, whether it is through a shooting or through an accident, a vehicle accident, there would be a funeral service very early in the morning, attended only by men within that family. So women would not take part in that kind of a funeral. So considering all those things and the logistics, whilst other families are okay with funerals attended by women wherein a situation of this nature has occurred, but others were in their tradition and in their beliefs, they do not do things in that way. So that was the main issue that made it impossible for a mass funeral service to be held.
But will the government, in all its forms, provincial government, the municipalities, will they still give the families the support that you promised for the funerals?
Yes, Vuyo. It's important, firstly, to note that even with the memorial service, all families, as I said, will be part of that memorial service, meaning that the overall support from government is being received quite positively. And we will, as government, support them with their respective funerals. Already earlier in the week, we supported the families that had not been able to remove the bodies from the government mortuary to private funeral parlors. So government had to take care of that, assist that, because that requires the resources that some of the families didn't have. So now as they prepare for their funeral services, we have engaged them, and families have accepted the support that government will provide, which includes making sure that there are coffins, making sure that the body is well kept at a funeral parlor, including issues of transportation from the funeral parlor to their homes or to where those bodies will be buried. Also, we would understand understand that there is one deceased person who had to be transported from Lusikisiki to East London, where that person will be buried. So government came in, even in that instance, to assist that family. Of course, Vuyo would not be able to do this as government alone. So we are grateful for the outpouring of love and support that those families are receiving from various business people who are coming up and saying, government, we will be with you in this time. We will be with these families and ensure that these 18 innocent lives that died in this brutal manner receive dignified funerals. And therefore, there is that support as well that we are receiving from business people. And we know that when those families bury from the 11th up to the 13th of October, when they hold their funeral services, everything that will be taken care of by government, as well as the support that we have received from business people.
Well, speaking of support that you are receiving from business people, I've been made to understand that there was a firm of undertakers that actually offered to, among other things, offer 18 caskets, but also tents and other things. What happened to that offer? Did you entertain it or at all? Or are you sticking to what the Premier announced the day before yesterday, which is that you had already approached several undertakers, which three of which were mentioned at that briefing that we attended. Are you sticking to that which the Premier announced, or have you reconsidered given the offer that is in front of you?
We have accepted the offer as government because it means that we'll be able to augment the resources that we have. However, I must mention that the final decision will be made by each family, because you would understand that some of us has certain connections and issues around who then buries my loved one. So we are open to that. Hence, it has become important that discussions are held with each and every family. We present the offer to them, because the offer, whilst it is through government, it is in the main being given to those families. So those are the discussions that we are having, and we are open as government because we understand that this is a family matter. Government is there to support where there is a need to support.
So the families will have the final say.
The final decision will be coming from the families, but on the side of government, we have accepted. We know that there are those families that really, really need this kind of support. We know that perhaps we might not have issues there, but we also know that perhaps there's one or two of those families that would like to still keep things as they are, and that is on the basis of interactions that we've had with them already earlier in the week.
Any idea of how much money has been set aside for this altogether? The memorial service all the way to the funerals?
At this stage, Vuyo, there has not been, we have not counted the cost to this, but from the mass memorial service, we know that we will reduce drastically costs because we are intending to use existing infrastructure. Hence, it becomes also important that we accept offers of this nature from business that wants to support those families, so that we reduce the costs of doing this from the government purse. So we will be able to, after everything is done and concluded, to say how much then from government was utilized, how much or were we able to source from business sectors? And there are all sorts of people from all walks of life that are supporting. They are centralized centers as we speak, Vuyo, in the locality of Lusikisiki, where people can come in and drop groceries just to support the families and ensure that as they prepare for the funeral, we take off some of the responsibility from them.
But as things stand, you haven't set aside any budget for this whole entire process?
Not at all, but you would understand that because we did not anticipate that we will have this kind of a funeral. We did not budget for it. So it is a matter of reprioritizing from what we have as government, as we always do when there is a need to support our communities.
Quick last one before I let you go. I mean, your teams from the province, from Bishops to be specific, have been deployed as part of that 40-odd member team that have all manner of skills to deal with a case of this nature. Have you received any report back as to whether any progress has been made beyond, of course, having that one person who was called in for questioning, who hasn't been arrested? Have you had any feedback from the members, from your members, as to whether there's been any progress beyond what was announced the day before yesterday?
Not at this stage, Vuyo. Things are still, as we all know, that there is one person of interest who was brought in by the police for questioning. And at this point, there has been no arrest. Even this morning, the MEC for Community Safety was still confirming that there is no arrest as yet made. We are hopeful, Vuyo, that those teams with their expertise, the technical skills that is on the ground, will ensure that we are able to get leads, and the South African Police Services will arrest those that are linked to this tragic incident.
So we're going to leave it for now. Khuselwa Rantjie, thank you very much for your time.